Boom, 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 boom. 20 bucks. 20 bucks. They're on the line for 20 bucks. They keep on playing. Nobody's paying. Hi guys. It's Jabor from Montreal. 20 bucks. I can feed you very well on 20 bucks. And Maggie, Mrs. Calabash, come into my kitchen. It's a winter's day. And yeah, it's what we expect this time of the year. And my body's yearning for comfort food. It sort of said, oh please, you know, what with everything that's going on in the world. So I'm making an Irish mac and cheese with a rainbow Thai salad, because I find, you know, as you know, I'm diabetic, so I can only eat a little of something like mac and cheese, and I have to temper it with something like a rainbow salad with my raw veggies. So let's get started. Now, the Irish mac and cheese is a little bit different. It's got a lot of cheese in it, obviously, and I'm using an Irish cheese. I don't know if you can see that. An Irish cheese it's dry, and it's a little bit salty. It's quite strong, and I use that, or I use a Dubliner, a Kerrygold, all Irish. And when I went to live in Ireland, I'd got my stepchildren there on holiday, because we just used to have them for the holidays when we moved abroad. And Simon was 12, 6 foot, an appetite like somebody that I always compared it to having taps on the end of his toes and never being able to turn them off. And I went down to and Karen was 15, and mine were quite small. And so anyway, I went down to the local butcher's and I said, I'll have 3 pounds of cheese and 1.5 pounds of whatever meat I was buying. And he said, you've not been here long, you're just off the boat, aren't you? So I said, oh yeah, you know, we've only been here sort of 2 weeks. And he said, yeah. He said, this isn't like England. In England, cheese has a subsidy, and it's subsidised, so it was cheap. It was a good source of protein. But in Ireland, there was no subsidy. So meat was an awful lot cheaper than cheese. So we switched the diet. And but the Irish cheese, because there's cattle everywhere, it really is gorgeous. So anyway, enough nattering. Let's get back to the stove. Now for this, I cooked the pasta. Where's my little pincers? Here we are. Look, I cooked the pasta, and can you see? It's like a corkscrew. Now I'm going in. I'm going in for a cataract operation this week, and now you see why. Because I honestly thought that was macaroni. I couldn't see. I'm going in for a cataract operation in a couple of days' time, and then another one at the beginning of January. So by then I should be able to see. So, but nevertheless, it's a nice corkscrew, and it being a corkscrew, it will hold the sauce. Anyway, I've just cooked that for about 7 minutes until it was al dente, because as it stands, the heat will cook it a little bit longer. And actually, I drained it, but normally I do take a little of the pasta juice out, the pasta water, and then if I want to put it in the sauce, I can do. Now, we've got butter in here, a little butter, and I'm just looking for everything. There we are. A little butter, which I've melted, and a nice onion. For this, I've actually used I've used a sweet onion. Use whatever onions you've got in. Don't go out and buy an onion specially. But it is better if you could use a white onion. A yellow onion or a white onion. A red onion, we just don't want to keep, we just don't want to colour the sauce. So, and we're going to make a white sauce. So let's just cook those up for a few minutes. And I've got a little pinch of sugar here. That brings out the sweet, we only need a pinch, literally. And it just brings out the sweetness of the onion. And if you're doing caramelized onions, just put a little sugar in as you're cooking the onions, and it browns and caramelizes beautifully. I've got flour. Now, I've got some extra flour just in case it's not thick enough. You can weigh up, and some days you've got more than others. And I always like to have a little more flour and a little more milk in case I want to add some. So there we are. Now I'm going to add a pinch of sugar to that. I can't, can you see? It is literally just a pinch. There we are. And that makes all the difference. Now we want to cook these until they're transparent. We don't want to brown them. And by using butter, it does give a beautiful buttery flavour to the sauce. And again, butter in Ireland, you know, it's cattle country. They have cattle and sheep, and they use, I don't know, I mean, it's a good few years since I've lived in Ireland, but there used to be the God's Acre, and that was the verges of the road. And I thought, I got there, and being very English, I thought, oh my gosh, you know, there's cattle out and sheep out, they've escaped. And I was desperately trying to find out who they belonged to. No, the farmers just let them, it was free. They could graze by the roadside. And you got quite used to it. We had, one day we had a flock of sheep just arrive in the backyard, and we fenced them in, and I went down to the Gaeltacht because they come out of the Gaeltacht, and everybody went home. But it was quite normal. It was quite normal to find a cow grazing on the lawn. You got used to it. I love my Irish life. We did live in the middle of the country, mind you. We live near Kells. So that's just nicely cooked. Now I'm going to add, at this stage, I'm going to put the bay leaf in. I've got some cloves and some nutmeg, and I'm going to add it now at this stage because that adds all the flavour. Let's add the flour. You can smell. Let's take that round. Now we want to cook the flour, cook it out, otherwise it will taste raw, but we don't want to brown it. So turn down the heat, and this causes all the starch grains to burst, and that's what thickens it. I'm going to season this in a few minutes. Milk, I like to add about a third at a time. You can whisk this in or use it with a wooden spoon. I like these little spatulas, and then I can get right into the crevice of the pan. Don't worry if you get lumps, they'll go. You can always whisk them out. Don't panic. And I'm going to add, now I've got a little milk in there, I'm going to add some seasoning. We bring it up to the boil, you can't hurry a sauce. I love a good sauce. I always said if I had my time again, I would be a sauce chef. Just concentrate on making sauces. They make a meal. A little, this is my own, as I say, anybody who watches me knows it's 3 salt to 1 pepper. And then we can always add a little salt and pepper if it needs it on its own. There we are. You see how it's thickening? So we can turn that up for a minute. We're going to add a drop more milk. And I've made a mess, as is quite normal. There we are. So let's turn this up, just stir it in. Now you don't want the sauce to be too thick, because remember, you're going to put it over the pasta. So let's just stir this around. And I'm going to get a larger, it's getting a bit warm. There we are. And we'll taste that. You can see it's coming up to the boil. It tastes rather nice actually. You can taste the nutmeg and the cloves. Let's bring this. There we are. Just keep stirring. Go round the side and in the centre, round the side, and make sure that you're covering the whole of the pan, the whole of the pot. Now you see it's thickening. You might think at that stage, oh my gosh, I've put too much in. It's thickening. And we're going to add cream to this. So cream is a liaison, which is a thickener. Your liaison, your thickeners in this are the butter, the flour. The butter, you add the flour, and that makes a roux, an R-O-U-X. And that is your basis of the sauce. And then, depending how thin you want the sauce, you the milk or the liquid. I mean, you can use stock. I'm going to yes, I'm going to add the cream now, because I don't know how thick that's going to be, and I can always add a drop more milk. This is a 35% cream, and then if it boils, it's not going to separate. Now, if you're lucky enough to live in Quebec, you can get a cooking cream. And you can get a cooking cream that's a 5%, so it's got a lot less fat in there, but we can't, and it's very stable, but we can't get them over here on the Ontario side. So, but when I lived in Quebec, I always used a cooking cream. Let's taste that, because we've added a lot more. It needs some more seasoning. It needs some more seasoning. I was laying in bed the other night and I wondered why my mouth was so sore, and I realised that I'd been tasting straight from the pot and I'd actually burnt my mouth. So let's have another go. We're going to add the cheese and then we'll taste again. Now the reason why I'm saying that is the cheese has salt in it. It's okay. It's not really it's not really as seasoned as I would like it. But I'm going to turn this down. Now here I've got a mixture of cheeses. I've got some Swiss cheese and some grated cheddar. Now you notice I've switched the heat off, because if you have too much heat under the cheese, it just coagulates. So this is why I'm going to retaste. So let's just stir that until the cheese melts. Now sometimes you can add a little mustard to this. I like a little Dijon mustard added to my macaroni cheese, but that's personal taste. Let's try. A little more. It's amazing how many spoons I can get through. I always think I've got plenty out there. A little more salt and pepper, like that. And just a little more salt and pepper, just a little pepper on its own. And then we can add a sprinkling of salt if we want it. Lovely. There we are. Now you see it's quite thin, but you just remember it's got to coat all that pasta. So we don't want a sauce that's too thick. Not at this stage. But you see, I've got some milk left over. So yeah, that'll do. I'm just going to leave that there for a few minutes. And let's go back to the butcher block. I'll take this over with me in a minute, so come back with me. Whew! It gets warm over the stove. Now, we've got breadcrumbs. I've got breadcrumbs here. I don't buy breadcrumbs, but if you're buying breadcrumbs, use the panko, the Japanese breadcrumbs. Now, I had some stale bread. So I had the food processor out and I just ground down the breadcrumbs. These will go in a container in the freezer, and then I've always got the breadcrumbs as I need them. I'm going to be cooking a turkey actually on Tuesday before I go for my operation, so that we've got something to eat when I come back, and I'll need some stuffing, so that's fine. And a teaspoon of mixed herbs in there. Now I make my own mixed herbs. I will put this up for you, but it's just one part. So if you're using a teaspoon, a tablespoon, whatever, keep it going. And it's thyme. What I use is thyme, oregano, parsley, a little rosemary, a little basil, and a little sage. So I used a teaspoon, one of these, of each. And I keep mixed herbs, I keep it in a pot, and because I've got all those herbs on the shelf, so I'm not going to go out and buy mixed herbs. So there we are. Oh, excuse me, the herbs have got up my nose. Oh, excuse me. I could smell them as I was stirring them. Let me go and wash my hands. Oh, there we are. Now I've got the oven on. I've put my oven on at 3. I put it on there at 375, but as I say, my oven's slow, so I've got my oven on at about 350. No, I've not. 375. I've got it on at 390. So let's get. These are strained. There we are. The pasta. the sauce. Derek's going to kill me because I've not told him I'm going backwards and forwards. There we are. Oh, now we've got a nice bowl. So let's put the pasta in a bowl. Like that. The sauce over the top. This is why I ruin all my tea towels. Put the sauce over the top like that. Scrape it out. We don't want to waste anything because it really is good. There we are. Like that. Just scrape it out. And you can see by cooking it slowly, nothing has got burnt on the bottom. You can't hurry a good sauce. So we need to combine this. Oh, take out the bay leaf, which I'd forgotten to do. Have a nice, I mean, you could put it back into the pot that you'd, if it's a nice pot like I've got for the cooking the pasta, you could put it back into there, or have a nice casserole. I'm sort of humping and heaving now because this is heavy. Let's put this back into here. Push it down the side, like that. Pick up the bits that are on the table. Oh yes. It's just newly scrubbed, so it's all nice and clean. We need as much as the sauce as we can manage. Put that over there. Let me just wipe the table, wipe my bowl, and we're going to put the breadcrumbs on the top of there and the grated cheese on the top of that. So there's the breadcrumbs. Now everything's nice and hot, so it's not going to take long in the oven. You can prepare this beforehand to this stage, and then it will just take longer to heat through. There we are. Grated cheese, and this is the good Dubliner, good Irish cheese again over the top. That's going in until the cheese melts, or we run out of time, whichever is first. There we are. Okay, up into the oven. Oh, you know what? I'm going to put that on to broil. Cancel broil, because everything is nice and hot. Now, let's clean up this mess. I made a lot of washing up. And we're just going to do the salad. Now, I like to have a glass bowl for this, for the salad. And let's put that over there. And it's a Thai salad. So it's raw cabbage, and I like to use a red cabbage. So I just rinse the cabbage under the tap. So just slice up some cabbage. I don't like putting the cabbage through the food processor. I find it processed too much, and it damages the cabbage. So let's cut some cabbage like this, and we're going to layer everything. Ooh, you need a good knife, a good strong knife like I've got. That will do. So have a nice bowl. Open up the cabbage like that. There we are. And I'm going to try and put everything in order. There we are. Cabbage. I've got romaine lettuce. Some romaine lettuce here. I didn't chop this, but I shredded just with the knife. Some romaine lettuce, carrots, nice thinly cut carrots. So you see how it gets its name, a rainbow. There we are. Some carrots. I just cut them very, very thinly. You can use the slicer actually on that, on the food processor. Red peppers. Again, I'm using a red pepper because I like the colour, but if you've only got a yellow pepper or a green pepper in, use that. Now, I'm not using, today I'm not going to be using cucumber. Derek's not too keen on cucumber, so I've put some tomato in. But you could put some raw cauliflower in there, you know, anything. A little green onion. Top it with some cilantro. I chop the cilantro. And now, like that, some cilantro. We're going to mix the dressing and garlic. We've got olive oil, soy sauce, a little hot peppers, chili peppers, and some honey. It's stiffened on me, look. Some honey. I better have a look in the oven in a minute. And this is lemongrass. Now, I always have a tube of lemongrass in. I keep it in the fridge, and I want half a tablespoon. So, come on. Oh, it's new. That's why. I like lemongrass, but I don't use enough to buy the fresh. So let me just, there we are. And you can get these tubes with lemongrass or ginger and just keep them in the fridge. We're going to mix all that together. Put it over, look, pour it over, mix, 20 bucks, 20 bucks, on the line for 20 bucks. There's the Irish mac and cheese, 20 bucks. Bring me for 20 bucks. Pay the rent on the money that you spend. Can buy on 20 bucks. I've got my Irish shamrock bowls.